is Mark Menninger. Out on that limb. Out on that limb, Mark Menninger.
The last time I cried was the first time I had cried in at least 10 years. And then I learned something about crying that day, and it's that I'm not very good at it. Apparently you can get out of practice. The good news is I was all by myself. I was in this small hotel room in a tiny town, and there was nobody there to see me cry. I was doing one of these. I covered my eyes to keep the tears from coming out, because guys aren't supposed to cry, right? Even if they're by themselves. And the crazy thing is, I was crying over a bunch of people who a week before I hadn't even met. You see, I went out on a limb, and I decided I was going to interact with people who I would never interact with. In fact, I was quite nervous about being with these people. You see, I volunteered to spend a week of my time with a bunch of teenagers. Who here lives with a teenager? Oh, see, I sympathize with you. Who here regularly interacts with teenagers? Anyone? I don't fall into either one of those categories. I never interact with teenagers. Last time I interacted with a teenager, I was a teenager, and that was a long time ago. But I do have a young son, and someday he will be a teenager, and I thought I should start to learn what these people are like. So I volunteered for Washington Business Week last summer. And Washington Business Week is a summer camp for high school students. And it's an opportunity for students anywhere in Washington State to come to a college campus for a week in the summer and learn business skills, learn team building and leadership skills. I volunteered to be an advisor for Washington Business Week last summer. As an advisor, they give you a team of 10 kids. And I don't know how they did this, but somehow they managed to pull one kid from every teenage stereotype that you can think of to be on my team. I had the quiet Asian girl. I had the super genius Asian guy. I had the cheerleader, the jock. I had the slacker. This guy had a bolt in his ear. None of these kids knew each other. None of them knew me. And their job was to work together for a week. And they were immediately assigned a ton of tasks, a ton of things to do, and they were kept busy all week long. And they had a big assignment to accomplish on the very last day. That was the trade show and board of directors presentation, and they all needed to participate. And we got to the night before the presentation, the night before the big event, and this team was nowhere near ready. They had this trifold for their trade show, and it had one tiny little sketch on it. That was it. And none of them knew what they were going to present for the board of presenters, or the board of directors presentation. And I thought to myself, you guys are going to have a long night. So I went off to an advisor's meeting, came back into the room where the team was at, and I saw them all in a big circle huddle, like this, crying. And I think to myself, is this normal teenage behavior? Because I don't remember doing this when I was a teenager. It turns out that one of the girls had just been told that her father was diagnosed with stage 4 lung cancer and was given months to live. And I sat down with this girl and I told her, you don't need to stay for this. You can go home and be with your father. And she said, no, said, I talked with my dad, and he told me that I need to stay here because my team needs me. And I had to walk out of the room because I was about to lose it. And I come back in, everybody's really quiet. They're all sitting very still. And I said, you know, a lot of teams in your situation would quit. They would throw in the towel. You guys need to decide if you're going to be that team. And they slowly picked up their stuff and filed out of the room to find a place to finish up their project. And that was the night I went back to my hotel room and tried to hold back the tears because I knew what these kids were going through. I knew the pressure they were under. I was in the same pressure cooker. I was going under a lot of stress as well. So it was very inspiring for me to see these kids plow through anyway and keep moving forward. Then next morning, I saw them. They were all smiles, even though they had worked the entire night. Their trifold was done. They gave a great presentation to the board of directors. They had a great trade show. And I was so proud of them. I was proud of them as if they were my own kids. It was very inspiring. And I'm so glad that I went out on that limb and was able to touch the lives of these young people. And they were able to touch my life. And I was able to learn from them. And I think become a better person and hopefully a better father. And plus, I got a good cry out of it too. Mr. Toastmaster.